Hi everyone, welcome to my first update for Penthos Eyeshadows 2023. This project was created by Alexie. I'm going to leave her channel in the description box. But if you're not familiar with what Penthos Eyeshadows is, it's a pretty popular project here on YouTube. I feel like it's been going on for at least 5 years now. And since then it went through a lot of changes because different people like to do it differently, and I am no exception. So the way I like to do this project is I randomly select 5 eyeshadows out of my whole collection and I try to hit pan on them, and once I do end up hitting pan on 1 or 2 or more, I roll in a new shade or shades in the replacement. So that's the basic gist of the way I like to do this project. So I guess let's just get into my update. It's a pretty good one, so yeah. But before I start talking about eyeshadows, I just wanted to remind you yet again that the war in Ukraine is still happening. It's been a year since it started, so as you could imagine, the devastation and destruction and suffering that's being caused is immense. So if you would like to help, I'm going to leave a few organizations that you could potentially donate to. If you do donate, thank you so much, it means the world. It's probably one of the best things that we all can do at this point, because yeah, as regular people, there is really not that much that can be done, and which can feel very, like, make you feel very powerless. So I don't know, I feel like this is one of a few things that just can make a change, can cause a change, and just make you feel that you're actually doing something good. So I'm not trying to be preachy or anything, just if you feel comfortable donating, there are links in the description box. So yeah, let's just get into the update. Alright y'all, so the first eyeshadow I'm going to talk about is the one that comes from my focus palette, which is, as of right now, the same focus palette that I had last year, which is Meet Matte Nude by The Balm. And the shade that I had from this palette is called Matte Rosin. I've used Matte Rosin 6 times this month, and here's what it's looking like today. As you can see, there's no pan in it, but there is a bit of a dip. I don't know if you can tell. I don't know if it's even correct, like, if it's even... okay, maybe it's not a dip, never mind. It's more like disturbance. So yeah. These shadows are pretty deep and they can be pretty hard pressed. So it looks like this one might take a little longer, but I guess I don't mind. I can find ways to use it, so. And I just really want to get this palette out of my collection because it's the oldest palette of mine. I have another one that's older, but I got it, like, I traded it with my mom and she gave me her old palette so I can finish it. So yeah, that one is older, but technically this was my first ever eyeshadow palette. So it's very old. So yeah, I would like to just finish it. It's probably kind of an ambitious goal. But yeah, I'm just going on a tangent at this point, so yeah. this shadow is staying in. That's all you need to know, I guess. And here is a swatch of it. Excuse my very dry hands, it's winter. But yeah, it's like a nice mid-toned milk chocolate brown. Yeah, nothing that special, but it works. So yeah, let's just move on to the next shade, which is more exciting, I think. So yeah. Okay, so the second shade that I rolled in during my intro comes from this palette, which is Midas Cosmetics times Basic B Perception. And the shade that I rolled in from this palette is called Inspire. I used Inspire 6 times, and here is what it's looking like today. As I hope you can see, I did end up hitting pan on it, which is pretty cool, if I say so myself. Yeah, so there are 2 reasons why I got to hit pan on this matte in only 6 uses. So one of them being is it's a very soft press shade. So if you like just touch it like very gently with the brush, it immediately like bursts. Like the powder just goes everywhere. So yeah, it's easier to make like a dent in it. And the second thing is that this is not the best blue, which kind of makes sense for it being this bright, almost neon kind of color, which are generally notoriously hard to formulate, so makes sense. But yeah, this, because it has a tendency of getting a little patchy, I would tend to use more of it than I would do otherwise, to like, if I had like a little, if I were to put it in the crease or something and it was patchy and I would put more eyeshadow to cover up that little patch, I would obviously use more eyeshadow, and with it being so soft pressed, it was pretty easy eyeshadow to hit pan on. So yeah, but that all being said, I did really like using it. I think it's a very fun color, and yeah, I honestly love to have this palette out in general, especially for this shade Psyche. It's just really cool, and pretty much every time I use this palette I reached for Psyche because it's just a really nice like pink to green sparkly sheer topper shade. So yeah, we will have this shade rolling out and a new one replacing it. But before we move on to the next shade, here's a swatch of it. As you can see, it's a very bright, I guess you would call it an indigo blue. So yeah, pretty fun. But yeah, let's just move on to the second shade now. So the third shade I'm going to talk about comes from a palette that is no stranger to this project. If you followed me, if you followed my 2022 Pandos eyeshadows, you probably know this palette by now, but I'm talking about Estate times Baileysarian Venice Fling. I had 2 shades from this palette roll in my project last year, and we started out with this palette this year. I think this palette actually was also one of the first shades to roll in last year, but I might be wrong. But yeah, the shade that I've been working on is the namesake of this palette, Venice Fling, and I've used it a total of 9 times, and here is what it's looking like today. Hope you can see I did hit pan on it, which is great. Yeah, It's not the biggest pan ever, but it's a pan in my book, so we'll be rolling this eyeshadow out, which I'm honestly kind of sad about because during this past month, I think it became my favorite shade in this whole palette. I'm actually wearing it today with Maven Beauty or whatever they're called, Basic Beat Cream Shadow in the shade Teddy. It's kind of like a taupey brown or like a neutral brown, and I just kind of put that on my lid and on my lower lash line, and then I smudged this like closer to my lash line on my bottom and on my top and bottom lash line, and then I put Fenty Diamond Balm. Is this what it's called? The How Many Carats Diamond Balm on my inner corner. And I've been really loving this look actually, so yeah. That's what I honestly love about this project, just discovering shades that you love in the palettes you already own, that you, if you weren't forced to use them, you would have looked past them. So yeah, amazing. Great shadow. Here's what it looks like swatched out. As you can see, it's a pretty dark shimmery brown. I just like how it's kind of neutral, so it has that very like grungy, dirty, just, yeah, I think it looks great. And I really enjoy it, so it's kind of a shame to have to replace it by something, but hopefully the thing that I do replace it with is going to be another rediscovered favorite. So yeah, let's just talk about the last two shades so we can roll. After that, we will be rolling in new shades to replace the ones with the pan. Okay, I feel like I'm starting to just blabber about nothing. So yeah, next shadow. Okay, so one before last eyeshadow that is on today's agenda comes from this palette, which is e.l.f. times Chikissa to the rescue. Yeah, the shade that I have from this palette that I've been working on for the past month is called Pepper, and I've used Pepper 6 times, and here is, hold on, I need to cover this mirror with something. Okay, I think that's as good as it's gonna get. Okay, so yeah, I use it 6 times, and here's what it's looking like today. As you can see, there is no pan, but we do have a dip. Not a deep one. So yeah. I don't think I mentioned it in my last video because I think I realized it after I was done with filming, but after looking at the shade, I remembered that Rebecca Morgan was actually painting this exact shade last year, and as far as I remember, it took her a long time to get to a pan, which is a little discouraging, but I do really like this color. It's a very nice, orangey red, which are generally the kind of reds I prefer. So yeah, this shade or this palette is going to be staying in for now, which I don't mind. It's nice to have a little rainbow palette out. So yeah, here's what this shade looks like swatched out. As you can see, a nice kind of mid-toned red, crimson red. I don't know what crimson implies, but this feels like crimson red. Yeah, maybe blood red is a better description. Anyway, let's just get to our last shade and we can do the more fun, I don't know, more fun rolling in portion of this video. And finally, the last shade I'm going to talk about comes from this lovely palette, which is Clarissa Xeki's Box. The shade that I have rolled in from this palette is called Life on Mars, and I used Life on Mars 5 times this month, and here is what it's looking like today. As you can see, we do have pen in it, which is pretty exciting. So this shade, similar to Inspire, is also extremely soft pressed, very silky, so hitting pen in it wasn't a problem. And also these pens are relatively shallow, so yeah, not a difficult shade to hit pen on. And actually, as I hope you can see, I actually hit pen on a different shade in this palette, which is this one called Gossamer, which is just a white shade, so nothing particularly crazy, but still we have an extra pen, which is pretty cool. So yeah, another palette that will be rolling out. Here's what Life on Mars looks like swatched out. Very pretty blue. Yeah, so this was our color story for this past month. We will be rolling in 3 new shades, which is pretty cool. So let's just do it. I'm so excited. Okay, so I have my pretty random map ready. We're going to be rolling in 3 new shades to replace these 3. So let's just do it. Oh, by the way, my numbers are minimum is set to 1 and my maximum is set to 1319. I used up 1 eyeshadow this month and I brought in 2 new palettes because Kai Love had a closing sale and I wanted to get the 2 that I really wanted to get. So yeah, feel free to judge me. So yeah, let's just roll in our 3 new shades. The first one is going to be, oh my god, why does this keep happening to me? The first one is going to be for 66. The next one is going to be, oh, what's going on? Okay, 438, and the last shadow is 265. Okay, I'm going to go pick up the eyeshadows. If somehow one of them is a shadow that already has pen in it, I'm going to come back and we will re-roll. But other than that, everything goes. So let me just go pick up the shades and we will talk about them. Okay, so I have all 3 of the palettes, or yeah, 3 of the shades. All of them are eligible to be rolled in, and they actually come from 3 palettes that haven't been featured in any of my projects before. So pretty exciting. I don't know if you can hear it, but there was a fire truck passing by. Never mind. Let's just get into our 3 new roll-ins. So the first one under the number 466 comes from this palette, which is Colourpop times Raw Beauty Christie at First Sight. And the shade that I've rolled in is the one called Amanita, which, if I remember correctly, it's like this mauvey pinky brown kind of situation. So let's see. Oh, actually, no, it's not. Okay, so here's Amanita. It's kind of like a plum, actually, which is pretty perfect for this time of year. So I'm pretty happy about our first roll in. This palette is one that it's kind of neglected in my collection, actually, which is a shame because it's so pretty. So I'm very happy that it got rolled in, actually. So, and this shade, it will work pretty cool. It will work pretty well with Piper. Is that what it's called? The red, for like this very spicy smoky eye. So yeah, we're off to a good start. So let's talk about the next shade, which comes from a palette that's kind of like an embarrassing thing in my collection. And sometimes I'm like, I look at it and I think, why? What possessed me to buy this? I don't know. But I'm talking about this, which is Too Faced Pumpkin Spice palette, which was their holiday palette a year ago? Something like that. Yeah. I saw those shimmers and I was like, oh my god, Too Faced doing sparkly stuff. And I like lost my mind for some reason. It's not that special, as you could imagine, for being Too Faced. But anyway, I hope it didn't offend anyone with my Too Faced slander. But the shade, let's talk about the shade that I rolled in. It's called Want a Piece of Me. And knowing this palette, it's probably some warm tone neutral thing. So let's see. Oh! No, it's not. Okay. Oh! I always get confused by this palette because like the shades are written on like the top and not the bottom. Okay, we actually got a pretty good shade. So Want a Piece of Me is this kind of dusty purple. So dusty purple shimmer, one of the quote-unquote sparkly shades in this palette. Okay, I can work with that. I'm actually pretty excited. Nice. Okay, Too Faced, you didn't let me down. That's great. Okay, let's talk about our last shadow. We'll see if that one will be a good one. So it comes from another ColourPop palette, actually, which is Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon collab. The shade that I rolled in is under number 265, and it's actually right below Venice Flame, the shade. So pretty funny, considering. Oh wait, never mind. I was gonna say that Venice Flame rolled in last month, but that's actually not true. So forget about that. So the shade that I rolled in is called Shiny Moon, and it's the first shade in this palette. And knowing ColourPop, it's probably some like pasty, peachy nude situation, it being the first shade in the palette. And it is. So here's what Shiny Moon looks like. It's just like your typical beige, but it has some sequins. It's like a sequin shadow with like, is it pink? Yeah, there's like pink and silver sparkles, which doesn't really do much, but they're there. So yeah, as you can see, this palette doesn't look that used either. But hopefully this month we can change that. And as far as as far as I know, haven't seen people pan this palette. I think the shadows are pretty softly pressed, so it shouldn't be hard to hit pan on it, and it being such a basic shadow, I think it'll be like a gimme. So yeah, those were our three new shades. I'm going to swatch our new color story out, and then we can talk about my goals for next month and for the year, because I forgot to mention it at the beginning of the video, which is like a theme in all of my updates apparently. But yeah, I'm gonna swatch my new color story out and we will talk about it. Okay. Okay, y'all, here is our new color story. I think it's a pretty good one actually, compared to the old one. Like, this is pretty cohesive actually. Again, we have 4 mattes. Well, this is not really matte, but it performs as one. So let's just say 4 mattes and 1 shimmer. I don't mind this ratio because I do generally prefer mattes. So yeah, let me just tell you what its shade is once again. So at the top here we have Meet Menu by The Balm shade called Matte. What are you called? Was it Lombardi? Oh, sorry. It's Matte Rosin from Meet Menu by The Balm. Then we have Pepper from Elf and J.K. to the Rescue. Then we have Amanita from ColourPop times Raw Beauty Christie, Foresight. Then below it we have Too Faced Pumpkin Spice, right? That's what it's called. Yeah, Pumpkin Spice shade called Want a Piece of Me, right? Yes, and the last shade is ColourPop Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon palette, and the shade is called Shining Moon. So yeah, I think it's a very cohesive color story actually, and it's definitely more fall vibes than winter vibes, but I don't mind it. I'm actually very excited to work on it. So yeah, here it is again in comparison to our old one, very different, which I guess makes sense because we replaced 3 eyeshadows. But yeah, very excited for the upcoming month. I don't know if I will have a very exciting update the next month, however, because I honestly don't know what will be a shade that I will have pan on. Maybe Shining Moon, because it's like such a basic shade. You can wear it practically with everything. So maybe this one, I don't know. I have no guesses, honestly. It would be nice to hit pan on either of the older shades, but I don't know if that will happen, so I don't know what the universe has to offer for the next month. So yeah, I don't really have any goals for January, but let's talk about my goals for the year, which I forgot to mention. So my goal for the year is to have 100 pens total in my collection, and if my calculations are correct, I currently have 66. Since last update, as I already mentioned, used up 1 eyeshadow and hit pan on 4, so we're moving along. I still have to hit pan on 34 shades, so it's a pretty hefty number, but I will try my best. So yeah, I guess that is all I'm going to say. So let's just wrap up this video. Alright, so this is it for update 1. I think it was a pretty good one. 3 rollouts. This doesn't usually happen to me. I'm usually like 1 or 2 shades rolling out, so pretty exciting. I got lucky to roll in a few shades that are a very easy pan, so it was a very nice like confidence boost for the beginning of the project. But now we're back to the regularly scheduled program, so to say, which is a little more struggle, but it's all good fun, so I'm not really complaining, maybe just a little. But yeah, I guess this is all I'm going to say. Thank you so much for watching this video, it means a lot. I hope you're doing good, and bye. Take care. Bye.